Shut up.
We got one room.
I know, one leg room.
Hips and stuff.
I wouldn't think it as many. And I done my old shit.
American flag.
It don't change much in I've been
Yeah.
to school. It always gets more and more different.
Look and see.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Really, nobody
I mean, a lot of new ideas came across. Is this on? Is it on?
Okay, you ready?
There, the mic over there.
Okay, I would like to welcome everyone to the Amite River Basin Drainage and Water Conservation District. Today, March 12th, 10 a.m. here in Livingston Parish. Could I get a, Tony, could you call a roll?
All right. Mr. Bailey? Mr. Byrd? Mr. Clark? Where?
Here?
Mr. Quintmall?
Here.
Mr. Dawson? Mr. Delat?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Miss Folito?
Present.
Miss Fitch?
Present.
Mr. Harris? Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Parker?
Here.
And Mr. Rayford?
Here.
And Bryn Haas? Mr. Haas?
Here.
And Mr. Knight?
Here.
Mr. Sheets, absent, and Ms. Gorman, absent. And then we have Jenna, Executive Director, and myself. Thank y'all, we have a quorum.
Okay, if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. President Delotte, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We have any public comments from the visiting public? Hearing none. Okay, we're going to proceed on with our agenda. We got a pretty healthy agenda today. Our next item is approval of the minutes. Board commissioners, have you had a chance to take a look at the minutes? Anybody have any comments on the minutes?
Make a motion, we approve.
A motion for President Delotte, second by Commissioner O'Neill. Any opposition? Motion pass. Next item on the agenda is approval of financial statements. Unfortunately, Commissioner Bailey is out today. He will not be present. He's taking his wife to Houston to MD Anderson. And our prayers go out to them. And we hope everything turns out good. Also, in light of Mr. Bailey's absence, I've reviewed our financial statements, and they look good, considering we don't have that much to work with. But what we do have to work with, we're taking care of it. Between our auditors and the great job that our executive office staff does to manage what we have, we're not in the red. So,
Motion to approve?
got a motion?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Quintmall, second by Commissioner Delotte. All in favor? Any opposition?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Our next item is report by the ARBC President.
Mr. President, before we get started, on behalf of the project committee, I'd like to add an agenda item to new business for the discussion of Bayou Man Shack.
Okay. Do I have a motion to add that? A motion by Commissioner Rayford,
I'll second it.
seconded by Commissioner Delotte. Roll call. Tony?
Present.
Yes.
She needs a mic.
Voting yes or no whether or not we're adding this item to the agenda.
To discuss Bayou Manchac project.
Mr. Bailey's absent. Mr. Byrd?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Quintmall?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson is absent. Mr. Delat?
Yes.
And Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Polito?
Yes.
Ms. Fitch?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yep.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Rayford?
Yes.
All right, it's unanimous.
Okay, we're going to add that item under new business, and so when we get to new business, we'll have that discussion. Okay, next item is report by the president. I would just like to thank President Delat for allowing us to come and meet here. This is a really nice meeting room and setup here in Livingston Parish. I don't know if you all are aware that President Delat also had set up a meeting about 2 weeks ago with the Army Corps of Engineers, Colonel Cullens. We had our U.S. congressional delegation there and several engineers. And I think the concern was the Amite River Tributaries Project. And, you know, that's a project that was enacted back in 1967, and they finally come up to a conclusion on what they're going to do. Essentially, they've decided that to solve flood control, they're going to offer a program that provides homeowners opportunities to apply for assistance to flood-proof their houses. And nothing but when you think of the United States Army Corps of Engineers with their authority and their jurisdiction over waters of the United States, that you would expect something greater. And so when we went and met, I think we spoke as a united voice to express our discontent to a certain degree, that we would hope that they would have come up with something a little bigger and better. Things beyond our jurisdiction on a local level, a parish level, a state level, from someone who has the authority of the United States Army Corps of Engineers to do something bigger and better. So I believe that the Corps heard us well, and as a result, it's ensued a series of meetings afterwards, and we're going to stay firm with our position that we would expect something more from them, and we're going to press forward. So, you know, I know that everyone who lives in Amite River Basin has great hopes and great expectations for the new ARBC to make a difference like never before, to help reduce flood risk and to help bring back the qualities the river once provided. But all that comes with a price. But we're well positioned, and the new ARBC is working creatively with 7 parishes now joined and speaking as one, and appointed commissioners from the governor's office with backgrounds in engineering, hydrology, and floodplain management. This is who occupies our board, and now we're speaking as one. But the reality is that we do not have a funding stream or a source of funding, with the exception to the Comite River Diversion Project, to do other great things or to do long overdue maintenance. So with that, I want, you know, a lot of people seem confused whether maintenance is important or not. And when I say maintenance, I mean maintenance of the channel, because the Amite River, as it, not to be confused, it's a drain. It receives all of the water from a region that begins up in Liberty, Mississippi and above, and comes all the way down through the capital regional area, accepts all of that water, and goes to Lake Maurepas. It's the drain, kind of like the drain draining from your house. And I just want to break it down a little bit a brief demonstration. These are 2 gallons. The one on the left it has a gallon of water in it. The one on the right is empty, but it is half full of sand and mud. So what do you think would happen? All right, the one on the left, let's just say that's a rainfall event, a storm or rain event. What would you expect to happen if we tried to put this gallon of water into this channel, which should hold a gallon, but it's half full of sand and mud? I can tell you real quick, it's not rocket science. It would overflow. It would flood. It would flood out across this whole table here. And that's what happens. And that's where we're at. You know, it's not the solution, but it's a start. It's like eating an elephant. You got to take the first bite. And maintenance of the channel is long overdue. It's filled in with sediment and sand, and it gets worse on the lower end. As that water tries to get out, it rises up higher and spreads out further than ever before. There's places that flooded that never flooded, even on a normal rain event. So that's where we're at. And so I hope that our state representatives, our senators, our newly elected governor, our governor who is very intelligent, he's courageous, and very spirited. I hope that he's listening. Also hope that our local Congress is also listening and that they can look at this as an opportunity to do something great for this region. And with that, I'll conclude my report. We got a big agenda ahead of us. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, outstanding job on explaining that. Appreciate it.
Thought I'd break it down. Our next item on the agenda is a report from our ARBC Executive Director, Rachel Lambert.
Good morning. This morning I have a short update for you. We have a pretty long agenda, and most of the items that I've been working on over the past 2 months are on our agenda. So we'll have a Region 9 update, co-meet diversion, an update on master plan, on some upcoming events that I thought might pique your interest. So again, these are all of our round 2 projects that have been conditionally awarded. They have started to have awardee kickoff meetings with OCD and the H&H person that has been assigned to each project, as well as I was invited. They actually had our first one this morning. We have another one next Tuesday and another one the next, but they're slowly trickling in. Just be aware if those parishes that are up here, that if you haven't had yours scheduled yet, that it's coming. I've also been working on some watershed plan activities with OCD. We have a submittal due at the end of the first quarter, where we've been working on regional risk mapping, stakeholder mapping, and engagement and communication plans. I'll share some of those updates with you once we have all that together. That's part of our regional capacity building grant that we received from OCD, and that was with our end goal of what we would do with the end of using those funds is having a watershed plan, which we're kind of wrapping into our master plan. But because we have interim milestones that have to be submitted to OCD before we got our master plan consultant on board, I'm taking the helm on those and getting those things together and put together so that we can be submitted and stay in line with what OCD is requiring. So our master plan, a brief update. We issued 2 addenda. We had proposals due on January 30th. We received 3 proposals from CSRS, Dewberry, and Half and Associates. The RFQ selection committee met 3 times, first on February 22nd, and then we conducted interviews with all 3 applicants on March 4th, and then we had a final scoring selection meeting on March 8th. There's some information in your packet, but we'll y'all can talk about that when it comes time for that agenda item under old business. Some upcoming events that might be of interest to everyone. LFMA is having their annual conference at the City Club of River Ranch in Lafayette. I'll make sure that y'all get a copy of this because that's a link to their agenda. You can sign up still. And then ASCE Louisiana is having their 2024 spring conference here in Baton Rouge at Embassy Suites. I'm actually going to speak on the 20th, so FYI. And that's all I have for my update today.
Okay, do we have any public comments on that? Any questions? Okay. Rachel, there was a lot of acronyms thrown around, RCBG, that's Regional Capacity Building Grant. And what that amounts to is that originated from the Watershed Initiative, the State Watershed Initiative, that each region is afforded a certain amount of money. I think it's to the tune of $800,000. To coordinate the regional watershed efforts, and we, being in Region 9, we put out for that and were approved.
Yeah, we were awarded.
But contractually, is there a contract to where we can start getting reimbursed? Because
Yeah,
we've
I've been working on that reimbursement
we've been in
request.
business since, early last year, and it'd be nice to know that we could recover some of that funding because we sure could use it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions on the RCBG? Commissioner Haas?
I just had a question on the round 2 projects that are conditionally awarded. I guess what's the next step for those, or sort of what are the conditions that need to be met so we know where we're headed?
Some of the projects have their H&H study, hydraulic analysis done, and they'll get to move forward faster. But some of them do not, and so they're having kickoff meetings. Each project has been assigned an engineer who's responsible for any studies and whatnot, preliminary engineering, getting plans together, because some of the projects have plans, some of them don't, so they're going to move along at different speeds, but they're all going to have to go through those checks to make sure that all the boxes have been checked, for the federal funds that are being received. So they're having their kickoff meetings in this month currently right now during March. So hopefully I'll have more to report after attending some of those kickoff meetings later this month, and can kind of report a little bit better of a timeline next month.
So hold on, Rachel. So is Watershed Initiative people, are they contacting the applicants who applied for the round 2 projects themselves?
Yes.
Okay. And when they contact it, obviously these applicants occupy our region. Some of them are the town of Walker and East Feliciana and so forth. As a board and as commissioners, it might be valuable or favorable if some of the commissioners who represent those regions could perhaps be there present at the kickoff meeting. So if you get any correspondence along those lines, please let the entire board know where we could maybe show up and help support those people as we begin to move forward. Any questions? Commissioner Parker, East Feliciana.
Yes, I have received an email from LWI. I have been invited to the kickoff meeting as scheduled on the 26th of this month for East Feliciana Parish. Tentatively, we have everything in order. The only question we're kicking back and forth is this H&H study they're asking for. Unless the office has a record of when the last one was done, we may be forced to do one. But my point is that I'm arguing is if you have a log and it is stationary and we get 8 inches of rain and it picks that log up and moves it 25 feet, then that's part of storm debris. They did agree with me on that concept. But I'm still waiting until the 26th comes, and we're scheduled for our meeting on the 26th.
So here was the list, or an agenda. I know that's maybe a little hard to see. Administration, grant implementation, records management, financial management, procurement, labor recommendations or regulations, civil rights, environmental, acquisition and relocation, property management, monitoring and closeout, policies and procedures, H&H study, plans and specifications, environmental review, some administrative requirements. Has to be a monthly progress report that's submitted, project amendments and record keeping. This is the agenda for this morning's. The City of Walker had their kickoff meeting this morning. So each of these, I see these. It seems that these meetings are going to be extremely lengthy, and they're going to go over all the different requirements that have to take place. I can make sure I send out this sample one to all of you so that you can have an idea of what everything's going to have to happen. So.
Okay, so I don't know if everyone heard all of that, but it sounds like a lot. And I'm going to make a point that is cost that's going to be bared by the applicant. And you just heard from Commissioner Parker from East Feliciana Parish. East Feliciana is a beautiful place. However, there's not a lot of big tax base. Their government is very limited. I don't know if they can float a lot of these costs. So, you know, as we go down this path of round 2 projects, we're going to have to be very creative, and we're open to any alternate sources of monies to these local sponsors, these local people, i.e. East Feliciana, and it goes on to help with floating these costs until they can get reimbursed and go through all of this stuff that Rachel just talked about, and it's more procurement and so on before you actually get a draw and a check deposited in the bank where you can pay these people off. So that's the program we're working with, Watershed Initiative.
When LWI first came to us three years ago and explained their function, one of their primary goals was to assist in small entities that didn't have the resources to do the very things that were on that list. And that's what they said, this is what we're really here for, is one of our main purposes is to help these people that don't have that infrastructure to take care of that, like EB or East Baton Rouge or Ascension, somebody that are doing this all the time. So that's something that we need to go back. I would think they need to help support that. That's what they said they were here for.
So there were some changes from round 1 to round 2. They're assigning, so they have Stantec on board as part of the project management team, and they're assigning a personnel from Stantec to each project to handle the H&H modeling, because some of the they know that some of the entities are not capable of supporting that on their own outside of that. So they're already directly contracted with LWI to be paid for the H&H study, so that they're not having to float it. So some of it is going to fall on the burden of the jurisdiction that is having the project, but I think a lot more they're wrapping it into the LWI itself, and it's going to come straight, like the parish or municipality is not having to pay those funds out of their balance and then be reimbursed. It's going to come directly to the consultant that's already been chosen from LWI.
Okay, did you is that the way you understood that they would foot the bill for the H&H study?
The way I understand it is either we do it, and I'm meeting with the parish this afternoon at 4 p.m. to set this up. We've contacted Port Labata, who is the engineering firm that we're going to hire. I think that the way this works is what we understand is either we do it or they do it. My question to LWI is the money to do this study is coming out of what we requested as far as our budget, or does the parish have to pick it up? They didn't say, they just said either the parish does it or we do it. So I'm not necessarily sold either way yet until I meet with the parish this afternoon and then we'll have a final issue on how this is going to work.
Where is that meeting going to be on the 26th?
It's going to be like a Zoom meeting. If you want the information, if Rachel doesn't have it, I'm sure she does, I'll be glad to send it out if y'all want to attend.
Okay. All right. Sounds like that.
What I explained was what we've been conveyed during our watershed coordinators.
I heard that, but in reality, what it comes down to, we have a project in our parish, and it's almost done, and nobody's paid for nothing except us. That's what happens on the ground. So whether they do it or not, that would be great. I hope they do, but it sounds like he's concerned that they may not, and he might have to do it himself.
So that's what we're looking at. My understanding is, the way I read the email, and I talked to Karen from LWI, I sent her an email saying, hey, I will be at this meeting. I have a great concern for what's going to happen, because look, the projects that we presented to LWI is roughly $27 million. Upper Comite, where it comes out of the state of Mississippi, all the way down to the parish line where Commissioner Rayford has been working. So, and it looks good. I just concerned with this H&H study, as a consultant I'm working with, he told me, he said, Ed, it's not necessary. All you're doing is removing storm debris. This is just another area of bureaucracy they're trying to put on this to slow the train down. And hopefully we'll decide not to mess with it. But that's not the case here. I'm not giving up the ghost until I know this is on its way and the money's been presented. This is just another way for government to say, well, we got to do this, we got to do that. I have contacted our U.S. representative. I've talked to her staff members, and I feel that she agrees with me that this is just a way for them to slow this train down, because we're looking at $27 million.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Commissioner DeLotte.
Just for clarification from my own self, LWI, that's going to be a new administration administrating that.
Right.
So shouldn't we get some written correspondence or maybe send a resolution out requesting they come to explain the new administration's way of doing business to us? And maybe we can answer some of these questions instead of just trying to figure it out. We guessing what they're going to do. It's not a clear policy. We don't have anything, a white sheet, anything in our hand to follow. No. And we're just going by second or third person. And Rachel's doing the best she can, but I can understand the new administration maybe not having their policy set in place yet. And maybe that's something we need to look into.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Would it be worth it for us to reach out through Rachel and ask a representative of LWI to just come here and answer questions for the parishes or the entities that did get a project? You guys could come up with a list of questions. We could confirm whether or not they can, be here for the next meeting, and then we can ask them all of our questions that you guys have regarding your projects, whether process, policy, or procedural in nature, and they'd be ready to answer those questions on the record here in front of ARBC. They can then take those back to their communities, and they have the answers they need.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'll make a motion if that's in order, Mr. President, that we send a resolution requesting that.
I don't think we need a resolution, but I can handle that. That'll be on my to-do list. So.
Okay, we got a motion, second by Commissioner Rayford. Any opposition? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Good, healthy discussion. Our next item moving along on our agenda is a report from the ARBC Legal Counsel.
Hi, for those of you that I have not met yet, I'm Jenna Rice. I practice with Larry Bankston. At the last meeting, the board authorized our office to seek a legislative author for the formalization of the new boundaries at the upcoming legislative session. That is one of the requirements of Act 490. Senator Franklin Foyle will author the legislation concerning the new legal description. I think you guys have all I think you might have been provided with a copy of that from the last meeting, but it's also included in this package as well. There's a 5-bill limit for this legislative session, so Senator Foyle will use one of his 5 bills for this legislation. Something that does probably need some action on is if there is a desire to have any other amendments to this bill. So this bill needed to get in since session's about to start, but we do have the ability to amend to add any additional items that the commission desires. So one of the things I think that was previously discussed was whether there's going to be a need for additional time for the master plan. I know we're close to initiating a contract, but that really is going to give the consultant less than a year to complete the master plan. Currently, the board shall submit its initial plan prior to the 2025 legislative session. So if there is a desire to extend that, then that would be probably an action that should be agreed upon now so that we can seek that amendment within this session. Another item I think that was previously discussed for possible amendment is the location of meetings. That's revised statute 38-3304. Currently, the board is required to rotate public meetings between Ascension, East Baton Rouge, and Livingston parishes. This was enacted prior to the board live streaming its meetings, prior to the meetings being held at the Capitol as well. So I think that's been a discussion that's been in the past. If there is a desire to make any amendment to that, that would be something that we'd need to proceed with at this time.
Okay, sounds like we have a request. Commissioner O'Neill, you have a comment?
I totally support us requesting as much time as we need for the master plan. I mean, I think I know we've had other stuff that we're talking about cleaning up with that bill, but I think it just makes complete and total sense for us to ask for the time. My question would be, obviously we're about to take an action on the master plan later. Would we need to negotiate? Would that be part of a firm's negotiation to be able to understand how much time they might additionally have, or do we need to still negotiate on 12/31 of 24?
Yeah, I don't think that we can assume that you're going to get this approved. I think we need to go forward, just like when we met with these contractors who are going to do the master plan. Everybody who came assured us that they could do it in this amount of time. Obviously, the more time you have, the better of a product you could get, not necessarily a rush job. So, yeah, we can suggest that. All I need is a motion to amend that.
I'll second it, just
Motion
as long as when
by
we
Commissioner Parker, seconded by Commissioner
Let's
O'Neill.
have some more discussion on that.
Okay.
I think we could negotiate how much time, when we named a firm and we entered into negotiation with a firm, we could then ask them how much time they thought they might need. And when we agree to that during the negotiation, then we could probably engage Mr. Foyle legislatively and say, based on our discussion, we would like X time. And we could put that forward in the legislation. Is that sort of rough cut, high level, how that would work?
Yeah, when would that discussion take place? I guess I think it's important that we have some decision.
We're literally
I
taking
think
action
the
today.
motion needs to include what we're asking for.
Yeah,
So how much more time? Are we just going to ask for another year? And then we can always amend the contract with the consultant once it's approved by the state legislature, or if.
So board discussion. Commissioner Harris.
I'm not in favor of extending the time on that. There are studies after study. This basin has been studied for years. And the water hasn't changed. Some of the land around the water has changed, and it's a larger problem today than maybe it was 15 years ago. But this basin has been studied to death. A year is certainly adequate time to go and put a plan together for a master plan on the basic things that need to be done on the basin. That's not to say in 5-6 years we're not going to modify that plan. but all the contractors that bid on this knew that we had on the time frame. The legislature, when they created the new ARBC, gave us that. We knew we had that deadline in place for 2 years now. I don't see any reason to postpone that, and I feel like that's what we need to do. By the end of this year, we need to have our game plan for the master plan.
Okay. Commissioner Quintmall?
Yeah, so I agree with Commissioner Harris. We went through an extensive RFQ process. Every firm understood the time frame. They all proposed a plan to meet it within that time frame. If we need to do any adjustments, we can do it in our annual plans or anything else. They understand the time frame. They're committed to that. They committed to that when they submitted for this particular job. So we need to stick to that. They understand it. They know they have to meet it. There's no reason to extend it. And we can always have amendments to plans, right? We can always amend to that. That's normal. That happens all the time. So I'd like to stay to the current time frame. Thank you.
Commissioner Rayford?
Yeah, I concur, and the reason, we talk about it here a lot at the meetings when we have all these discussions, but, we're being measured. This commission is being measured every day when what we're doing. And the first thing I would want to do is say, I'm going to go ask for more time on something that everybody knew would to start with. Perception becomes reality at that point. In my opinion, we need to move forward. The consultant will do what it needs to do, and if any adjustments that we need to make later, we can do that. But I just, listening to all the comments and some of the things I hear from EBR, they just say, what are y'all doing, number one, and why is it taking so long? So to me, I think we need to move forward on the plan and go with it. Thank you.
I'd like to.
Mr. O'Neill?
Commissioner Cointmont, Commissioner Rayford, y'all both recently had master plans done in your parish. How long did they take?
Well, it takes an extensive when you're working from scratch, but we have an annual plan done. We have several committees, so we could easily establish a standing committee to assist with getting that information to whoever the applicant is decided on today to expedite this. I think that when you say, okay, we need to establish a master plan, all right, well, what projects and everything, but when you go through these massive master plans, right, they're about this thick, it is just a lot of geographical stuff, a lot of historical stuff that they're just compiling together. The mission is for all of us, and the reason I'm here is to get things done. I don't have time to come to these meetings and put in the time if we're not going to do something on the ground. We meet through project committees, we meet monthly. I'm hoping that everybody upstairs at least has some semblance of where we're headed, right? We've been meeting for a long time now. And so I think we can put that together on paper in 9 months. And I think they have committed to that. They have committed to that timeline. They have never, even in the presentations, that not one single one said, I need more time. They all said, we can do it in 9 months. We can do it. We can do it. And we can do it. And all three said that. So I think we need to stick to it regardless. I think we have the background information. I think the studies and other master plans that they can pull from, because we do have these master plans, and they can take Ascension's master plan, they can take EBR's master plan, and they can pull that stuff out of there and throw it together in the Amite River. But more importantly is, where are we headed? Where's the projection of what we need to accomplish over the next 24 or 48 months? That's the critical. That's what the residents want. What are you going to do? And we need to put that out in a master plan, and I think we need to put it out sooner rather than later. Because the question here, and we're going to have another item added to this agenda today, which we just voted on, is, hey, where are we going? Where are we going with Manshack? Where are we at with the Amite River dredging? Where are we at with the new river pump station? Where are we at with the gravel pits in the north? These things, people want action. They're tired, and I agree with them, because I'm tired of talking. I'm tired I want something done, and I think many people up here understand that, and I know the public understands it. I know they crave it, they want it. They're saying, hey, we flooded in 2016. What has been done for the next one right around the corner? And I'm going to tell you, it's not a whole bunch. We got 1.2 billion, right? I mean, look at the Comey River diversion. How long do these things drag out? How long does it take to get relief to these residents? And that's why we're here. And we need to do something. We need to do it in a hurry. And I'm tired of talking and waiting. That's my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Quintmall. Commissioner Weber, you have a comment?
Just briefly, I'm sure that the scope of work had phased deliverables in it, so we can get monthly progress reports and we see it start to slip, we can adjust at that point, but I don't think there's a need to adjust now.
Okay. So, Commissioner Rayford?
Well, I will respond because I was asked to respond in regards to it. We took about 2.5 years to do the EBR master plan. We did it in phases. And I thought that was important by the fact that you had to have the important data to look at the remaining things that needed to be done. We've developed the modeling that we need to regulate the development that's taking place in the parish. We also have, I guess you would call it, projects that we have developed that we can look at submitting to federal grants, because we don't have the money here, just like we don't have the money here either, but we have a plan, and it didn't take that long to get it done correctly. But more importantly, it's going to address the future for our parish, and I think what we're trying to do here is how we're going to address the future for our region, and I think that's very important. But longer than I'd like to have, but we did it in phases, and I thought that was important to do to get the plan out. And right now, we've been very successful with some of the projects that we're getting through grants, but more importantly is to be able to control, manage water quality and water quantity at the same time.
Appreciate both y'all's comments. I would just say that when you sacrifice time, the only reason we're on this time frame is not because we're on some breakneck pace because we want results immediately. It's because that's what the legislation demanded and commanded us to do by statute. If we didn't have that statute in place, I don't think anybody here would say we want this done in 6 months. We would want it done yesterday, of course, but none of us would say we could get it done.
Okay, thank you. The legislation is why we're here today and why we're formed, and we can go back and forth. But from what I'm hearing, that we don't want to extend it. We want to leave it as it is and get it done by the end of the year.
Mr. President, I think we got a motion. We need to vote on it, though, right? We had a motion and a second. Do we need to vote?
Okay, we got a motion.
We want to do an amendment.
Okay, so can we clarify the motion, what the motion's for?
I think we're going to make changes to the act, but in other words, it's just I think Representative Foyle, you had mentioned, was going to make changes to the act based on locations and boundaries.
So that's just a new bill that was required for, or to amend pursuant to 490 for just for the boundaries of the district. Yeah, that's all that's currently going to the legislature.
Okay. But we were proposing to change the master plan time, and
if there's any additional amendments that the board desires to be added to the bill, that is something that would need to be acted on today in order to have that into this next legislative session.
Okay, so does everyone understand? Any questions? Okay, so we have a motion. Nope. Okay, no motion.
There was a motion last meeting. That's correct, right, Tony? There was a motion last meeting for the boundaries. Yeah, yes.
Okay, sorry for that. We're moving forward though.
Yeah. Was there any desire to make any amendments in connection with meeting locations?
Where you have more.
Yeah.
Is everybody happy with the way the legislation currently reads?
the reasoning for the change in
Any board-
legislation to begin with. What were we looking to change on the meeting locations?
There was just, I think, some discussions in the past about the flexibility of meeting locations. Currently, you are required to rotate among public buildings in Ascension, East Baton Rouge, and Livingston parishes. So, again, that was enacted prior to you guys live streaming these
Rotate
meetings.
quarterly? Does it say a time period?
I think it says that you have to have at least one meeting in Livingston and one meeting in Ascension per year.
Okay.
That's how it reads.
Right. The board is only required to meet quarterly.
Commissioner Harris.
That was introduced by
Eddie Lambert.
Eddie Lambert, and it was to give at least once a year, and we've done that even more frequently than that, a chance to be over here in Livingston Parish, so that the local people, and right, that was before Zoom, but it's not the same as watching it on a computer, as being able to sit out here in the audience and see what's going on and be able to voice your opinion about anything. So I'm inclined to agree with Eddie that we ought to move around and give the local people a chance to come out if they want to.
If that takes a motion, I'll make that. Is that,
No, it's just,
It's
do we
already
want to
in there.
change it if we don't
No.
want to change it?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good like it is, guys.
So this is what it says currently.
Nothing to change. Okay, so it sounds like we're good with the way it's written, that every so often we're gonna meet in Livingston, East Baton Rouge, and Ascension Parish to engage the public in a person-to-person type basis and afford that opportunity, as opposed to Zooms and this, that, and the other. Okay. All right, so,
I don't have anything further for the legal report.
okay, thank you, Jenna. Moving forward with the, on the agenda under old business is the master plan RFQ award, and that's going to require an action. Rachel, did you want to explain this?
I will. I mean, under old business in your packet is a letter that I drafted with the commission or the committee's recommendation on who they selected to award the contract to. The combined scoring sheets are also behind that for you for each firm. And I didn't, Gary, the committee chair, would you like to say something?
Just want to thank Commissioner Cointma, Commissioner Clark, Ms. Fitch, Livingston Parish as well, represented by Randy and Ms. O'Neill, for the work they did, and Rachel as well. You did a fantastic job organizing all this.
Mr. Dawson.
Oh, Mr. Dawson as well. I'm sorry, he's not here today. Mr. Dawson as well. Thank you, John. I think last week, or excuse me, the week before, we had some, or no, last Monday, I want to say, we had oral presentations by the three teams representing the three proposals we received. Interesting. It was a fantastic presentations by all three. I think we were all impressed with different aspects and pieces of each one. They all brought some interesting things to the table, but I will go ahead and say that in y'all's letter, we'll read that to the crowd as well, that ultimately Dewberry Engineer, the team represented by Dewberry and HNTB, were the highest scoring firm as well. This will all be part of the public record, so the other firms that comprise the other teams will be able to access these scoring sheets and whatnot if they're interested. But we did report out as a committee to recommend the Dewberry HNTB team, which has also had several other firms on their team as well. So appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate everybody's presentations at the Center for River Studies last week, and our committee went through an interesting process, several meetings, and the oral presentations, again, were fantastic. So if the board wants to take an action, we're happy to recommend that out. I'm happy to make the motion as the committee chair as well.
Yeah, I got a motion to accept.
Second.
To award the contract to Dewberry. Okay, I got a motion and a second by Commissioner Parker.
Comment?
Comments by Commissioner Quintmo?
Yeah, I just want to thank the three firms. Very impressive on all fronts. Like Gary said, a lot of time and effort was put in, a lot of thought, and a lot of projections of where they see ARBC, as they've attended a lot of these meetings with us. So just wanted to give them a shout out for putting together the presentations that they had and to come together. I thought we were very impressed with the oral presentations. Even the packets were good, but the oral presentations really gave us a further insight on who we thought could make that timeline, which is difficult, but also the professionalism across the board was impressive. And so that wasn't passed on by any of us. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Any more board comments? Any public comments? Any questions from the public in regards to our master plan and RFQ selection process? Oh, yes, sir. Can you come forward? Okay. Oh, well, hopefully by the end of this year,
December 31st.
we'll have one in hand.
Screeching up to that deadline.
You see?
Make sure to check our website, as there's already a sheet up there, a page for the master plan where the request for proposals was put at, and I plan to put up pertinent information as it becomes available on the website as well. So, amybasin.org.
Thank you.
Sam, Seth, and Melissa are out there. They're already working on it right now.
Okay, hearing no further questions or comments from the public, I got a motion by Commissioner O'Neill and a second by Commissioner Parker. Any opposition? Okay, motion passes. Congratulations, Dewberry.
Congratulations, yeah. Thank y'all again to all the firms.
Next item on the agenda is under new business. We had an item that earlier at the beginning of the meeting to add the Bayou Manchac project to the agenda. This is something that come up, and basically it's a discussion. And so we'd like to go ahead and get started on discussing the Bayou Manchac project and the path forward and ARBC's vision on what might take place. Do I have any comments from our commissioners? Commissioner Quintmo?
Yes. So as we added this item for Manchac, so I think most of you remember, and this was a flood event that affected EBR, Iberville, and Ascension more than what 2016, which impacted the entire basin. But we had a issue with Manchac where an extensive amount of rain fell in EBR, Ascension, and Iberville, and I think over a month, Manchac stayed elevated, and that caused flooding issues in each of our parishes. And so when we were developing the I would say 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 major projects that we thought that this commission could do, Manchac was one that got overwhelming support from EBR, Iberville, and Ascension. And so that was one project that we felt dedicated to. So what I would hope is that for several reasons that ARBC takes the lead on the Manchac project, and this is the reasons why. From a regional aspect, this commission is built with the concept of regional projects and how each project affects our neighbor. And that was the LWI initiative, right? And that's what we heard through the whole process: regional, 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 regional. Well, if, you know, Manchac fits that definition. It drains 3 parishes, and then but it impacts us downstream, the east side of Ascension, Livingston, Lower Livingston, and then ultimately St. James at the bottom. And so the designs and how that affects our neighbors is really what this commission does. And so from that regional aspect, I think that this commission should be doing the Manchac project. From the parish involvement, it borders Ascension, Iberville, and EBR. That means we're going to have our direct input in how our parishes can work with ARBC to directly design and how we can contribute to this project and working through that. And that's why we're sitting on ARBC today. Cost controls and funding. So if we can initiate the design and control that design component, then we can control the cost and what money that we need to take out of the $100 million in order to fully fund the construction. And that's important. That is critical because we have the funding. Nobody else does. Not a single agency out there has the funding to do this project but us. Nobody. And we have it. So that gives us a unique opportunity to start with the design and the planning component of it and then move right into the funding part of that through the $100 million that we have through LWI. I think that we have some studies that are out there that other agencies have done. I think that that has been paid for by public funds. So I would like ARBC to request that any study from any agency that exists out there. We would like to collect that data and request that be given to us because it has been paid by tax dollars, and it's been paid by the people, and we should be able to use those, and they should be exchanged accordingly out to the public. So I think what I would like to see is that this commission pass a resolution, I would say, and I might say dedicating themselves, but obviously showing the importance of ARBC taking on the Manchac project and seeing it from planning and design all the way through the construction and finishing for the residents that are involved in all the 5 parishes that Manchac has impact on to some degree. And so we've had a lot of discussions, and there's another agency out there that is asking for capital outlay funds. They're obviously not in any better position than we are, and I want to put that on record to doing this project. They have to, I would think, I'm almost 98, 99% sure that they have to work with the parishes. So again, that's another reason why ARBC fits that mold, is because they shouldn't be doing any work in Manchac if they're not working directly with the 3 parishes involved. I know Ascension has not been contacted before submitting this capital outlay request. Zero communication, none whatsoever. That is a red flag for me. When somebody submits for a major channel that drains the north end of my parish, and I have received zero communication about it. So that's obviously a major concern that I have to find this out in secondary. And so I would like ARBC to make it a priority that Manchac falls under our purview, and that we start this project from the planning and design, and we see it to the end. And so that's my position today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Quitmo. A little background. Bayou Manchac drains about 70% of metropolitan Baton Rouge, Wards Creek, and all of Iberville, and a lot of Ascension Parish. And the channel is east-west channel. It's not north-south. So it's challenging to drain out of that. And the configuration is the way it is. One, lack of maintenance. We think there's a bunch of speed bumps along the channel, not the entire channel. Just get it back to natural grade, the natural bottom. Again, neglect of maintenance by people who have the jurisdiction that hadn't done anything, and we don't have the jurisdiction on a local level. But hopefully we're trying to maybe move this forward Commissioner Harris?
The project committees have met twice since our last meeting, and Clint pretty much summed up the feelings of the entire project committee that ARBC needs to take the lead on Bayou Manchac. As Clint said, we have the funding and we need to press forward with that, and our project committee is supporting exactly what Clint said.
Commissioner DeLotte, you got a comment?
I want to echo what Commissioner Harris said, and also Clint. Region. This is a regional project. As we spoke many times, when a drop of water falls in EBR on Mississippi levee, it's got to drain through a mid-river. This can help the water before it gets to Livingston. This would help get the water back away from us, and this is a win-win project for the whole region. And as Commissioner Clint stated earlier, if you don't have local involvement and you just got another agency that wants to propose this, how do we know it's going to be to the benefit of the people and our tax dollars at the same time? I would also echo that we take the lead on this, a Mid-River Basin Board.
Any more comments or board discussion? Commissioner Parker. And Rachel.
I agree with what's been said with Bayou Manchac, because this would in fact help EBR, Ascension, Iberville, and part of St. James. I think we've discussed this more than once. I think the project committee has said it needs to be done. So right now, I'm going to make the motion that ARBC take the lead in doing what is necessary with Bayou Manchac. We have the $100 million. Let's move forward. Let's stop talking. You know, that's one thing I have found between the old commission and even this commission. We talk a lot, but when it comes to our projects that we are needing done, we're lagging behind. This is what the public wants to see. They want to see us move forward. So I think it's time that I'm going to make the motion that we move forward with Bayou Manchac.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Parker. Commissioner Rayford.
I just want to echo the commission's feelings on this, because I did attend the meetings, and there's no question Manchac is imperative to our drainage within the 3 parishes that we're talking about. Luckily, we were able to get other federal dollars to do some of the clearing and snagging that took place in regards to the project, working very closely with the 3 parishes, because that was where the water was draining to or from. To me, if we had the funds in place, then here's another opportunity for our commission to stand up and do what's right and to get this project moving as fast as possible, because the rain's going to come again. There's no question. And the second question that'll be asked is, why you haven't started with this project? And there's a lot of work done, and I think there's a lot of engineering data that has already been collected and will be asked to be submitted to us. I think that's imperative so we can look at the bigger picture than maybe taking the direction and where we want to go, and have an opportunity for all the groups out there to give a chance to be able to help us facilitate from a design standpoint to get this project underway, because it is critical and for East Baton Rouge Parish. Just like it's important for the Amite River to be selective dredge, just like we want to also do for the Manchac. I love my commissioner chairman said it, speed humps, that's about what it looks like out there, because you can see it very clearly when you ride the channel itself. But I'm all supportive of this, because it needs to get done, and particularly when we have funding set in the bank to go do it. And the only thing that's holding us up is not having the plans to go move forward through the construction phase. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rayford. Commissioner O'Neill, you got a comment?
I just want to clarify, Clint, you want ARBC to actually implement the project, or Ascension's going to continue to own the, quote unquote, own the project and manage it through LWI and OCD, or you want ARBC to do that?
I want ARBC to do that.
Okay. That's all I was
No,
curious.
so as many of you know, the the new pump station to the Mississippi River has always been my ask, and that Ascension Parish is willing to fund until reimbursed, because we know that LWI is a reimbursement program. Now, you don't always have to put up the money, as Mr. Weber said in our project committee. There's other ways to do it, but it takes longer because it is a contractual reimbursement procedure. Nonetheless, I think a resolution to ARBC to make the Bayou Manchac project a priority and willing to accept its responsibility for design, planning, overseeing construction, and seeking any revenue sources necessary. I would say that we pass the resolution in the mindset of that our director will work on the language, and then the executive committee will review and accept whatever language that Rachel drafts up that's appropriate, so we don't have to try to figure out every line and sentence up here. I think we got the general direction we're looking for.
Commissioner Weber, you got a comment?
In addition to that, I mean, the reorganized commission for the Amite River Basin, I think you're looking at projects, we're all looking at projects more collectively, and long-term sustainment of these projects is probably going to fall within the purview of this commission. So I don't see the reason to have an external agency actually start managing these projects for us. So if we do it in-house, I think we'd end up with a much better product.
Okay, so do we have a motion to?
I made the motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Parker and seconded by Commissioner Weber. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any public comment? Okay, unanimous, passes.
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I know that's our number one priority. I wonder if at next meeting we should set other priorities or other planning further down. I like the ideas of dredging the lower Amite River, and we're working hard on that. But there may be a time, there may be a length of time, and we may need other projects to fill in that space. I also like the project about the abandoned gravel pits in Watson. If we can't dredge the river, at least keep the water from coming to us as fast, right? So, yes.
I want to make a motion.
Commissioner Quitmore.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with doing resolutions for our main projects. I think in 9 months we're going to have that in the master plan, is what our priorities and laid out revenue sources that we're going to seek in order to help assist in all of these projects. But if we ever sense the need for us to do a resolution on any of our major focused projects, be willing to do that as well.
Commissioner Harris.
While we're still on Manchac, I'd like to go ahead and get a formal request for any study or plan or engineering that's been done on Bayou Manchac. Have that request go. I know that Pontchartrain Levee District has done some work on that. There may be some others that we don't know. But I would request all of that information, any information that was paid for with tax dollars would be gathered here, and would be the clearinghouse for that. That's the motion.
Okay.
Second.
We got a motion and a second, and that is for any discussion. Any public comments? Okay, so Motion and a second is for ARBC to take a lead on the Bayou Man Shack project
Less information.
and request information and draft a resolution that will be provided to us by our council for us to review and affirm and accept in this regard. Okay, thank you. Okay, can I get a vote on this? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, moving down the agenda, and I told y'all this would be a lengthy agenda, very robust, but we appreciate this, and these are some things that we just got to take care of and get out of the way. So our next item is capital outlay discussion, and there is an action on that. Do I have any comments from the board? Would like to take a lead on discussing that? Commissioner Harris.
We did and Rachel came on as executive director, right at the deadline for submitting any request for capital outlay. We scrambled at the last minute to get something. We needed to get something in and submitted. And we sort of gave it our best shot. That's not something that this commission as a whole has. We've never asked for, that I'm aware of. Have we ever asked for capital outlay money before? Canal. Well, for the canal, and that was through with the feds. So we did get something in. However, the way that we filled out our paperwork and everything, we looked at the overall and long-term project. What we really wanted, what we were after was, and the capital outlay money was for restoration of the gravel pits up in the northern part of the AMET. What we really wanted was $2.5 million to go buy some land. We want to buy one of these gravel pits and actually do a pilot restoration on that, where it would incorporate retention. It would also be a silt trap that would keep the silt from coming downstream, and also would have restoration of, if anybody's seen that, it looks like a moonscape, restoration of that area for public use. There's also some economic benefit that could be done in the area to give access to that area. So once we get the property, now and we own it, there's a number of agencies we can go to and say, hey, we've got this land, we want to go here's our plan to go do something with it. The way we filled out the paperwork, we did the whole thing. Instead of asking, what we really wanted was $2.5 million to go buy this piece of land. The end result, the way they saw it, was, well, it's a $365 million project at the end result. We'd like to amend our request from $365 million to really our first year, which was $2.5 million to actually purchase the land. That's essentially what we're looking to change our capital outlay request to the House or to the state from $365 million to $2.5 million.
So just to clarify, is the land acquisition would be to get in a abandoned sand and gravel pit that, like Jack said, could become kind of like a pilot study to implement some of the practices, restoration, conservation, that could serve as a model until a greater plan is put in place and funds for that greater plan is put in place. We would have a case in point scenario of what may or may not work in regards to restoring that type of landscape that's sitting there. and preventing the erosion that all of the sand and gravel is just sloughing off into the channel and getting washed downstream. To demonstrate on, some natural channel design in the way of putting back some meanders in the stream. A meander in a stream is kind of like steps in a staircase. If you remove 2 steps out of the staircase, try going down the staircase again without those 2 steps missing. Well, that's what's currently happening with the Amite River. There's been several steps removed from the staircase, and all of that water is just is coming downstream at an extreme rate, causing high peak flows and a lot of hydraulic energy that, the banks of the channel is just creating an unstable system. And so the capital outlay is not a solution, it's just a catalyst. And in order to do that, it's easier if you have something to work with. We don't have anything to work with. All we're going by is just concept. But if we have some land and could partner with some conservation groups and go out there and do some things and find out what works, what doesn't work, that was the line of thinking behind this. Commissioner Quintmall. So when you look at the capital outlay request, we're requesting the $2.5 million the first year. I think the concerning part of it is when you look at the entire total, that becomes a figure that may be not obtainable. So I guess if, for discussion purposes, I would like to see, first of all, we got to reach out to members of the state to see how much we can adjust this, all right? Because I don't think we can adjust the project specifically, but I think we need to look at what we can do to adjust the ask and as a prolong, so we can make it a more reasonable $80 to $100 million project that we can probably get some federal funds or some possible earmarks in order to do. Because I think that total at the end is real close to what the Comite diversion originally started out costing. So I think that's a little unattainable for us. And so I would like when our state legislature looks at this, they say, okay, now that's an attainable number over a 5-year period. Yes, we'll give you the $2.5 million to go ahead and purchase the property and seek the rest of additional funding throughout. Historically, just in my short term of being parish president, I've noticed, $5 to $6 million coming out of capital outlay is sometimes for bigger projects is a number that may be obtainable. Once you attain the property and you're moving forward with it and you're locked into the project. So I think the year one ask is good, 2.5, and I just think we need to adjust some numbers on the back end to make this more realistic approach. That's my comments. Any more board discussion on this? Everybody understand how this come about and what the intent was and how we're going to recover from this? Any public comments, suggestions, or questions? Commissioner Rayford.
Just one comment. Certainly I don't disagree with Clint Mont's comments. I will say that the best place to start would be with our delegation to make sure they understand, but I also would go to facility planning. It's where that capital outlay really derives from. There are many people over there can help us probably do the necessary paperwork to accomplish this, because I have had times where I had numbers where they wouldn't need to be either. And when I go visit with them over there, they were able to help me get the adjustments, and especially since it starts there, it would be a good place for, from a funding standpoint, it would be a good opportunity to build a relationship over there, since our goals and objective is to look for as much capital outlay as possible to start with. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Okay. Moving on, our agenda. Did we vote on that?
I think so. Did we?
No, we don't have a vote on this. Okay, our next item on the agenda is new office space for the ARBC. Obviously, we have some challenges with the ARBC office. I'll briefly tell you from my personal, and everybody else can attest to, it's limited space. There's limited inner office accommodations. It's very limited parking. The building looks dilapidated. It's as often, I don't know how to put this without just saying it. You drive up there and you might see a lot of vagrants. And there's some concerns for safety and crime. So that being the case, we're kind of open to something new, maybe a little more, a better location that's more accommodating and that doesn't have all of the current situations and conditions that we are experiencing now at the current ARBC office, which, if any of you have never been there before, it's located on Sherwood Forest. It's down by, the old Piccadilly on Sherwood Forest. It'd be directly across the street. Sherwood Forest used to be a real happening place, but as anywhere, it's facing the challenges of future and growth, and it is what it is. But Rachel, can you talk about what you maybe have come up with, something in mind?
So can I jump in before Rachel gets started?
Yes.
I just want to thank you for putting all this in the packet, and I was able to review it. I'm just in favor of moving on. If anybody's been to the existing space, you understand why. So I want to make a motion that we move on to the new space. If I can get a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a second. Commissioner Quintmall, motion, and second by Commissioner Rayford.
Does everybody understand the current lease?
Yeah,
That was sent out.
yeah, it was sent out. It was sent out at least. Commissioner O'Neill?
I just want to say, looking at the packet, this would be extremely adequate for public meetings. I mean, just for the public that's here today, if you've ever been to the Sherwood Forest location, which we couldn't fit the members that are up here at this podium, we couldn't fit them all in that building. It is cramped. And John's statement about being dilapidated, it's charitable. So this office space that we have, and know exactly where it is, not too far, but it's in a much better location. It's a much better facility, and for public meetings, it'll be extremely adequate for our needs. And I think it's a home run. I think from a cost perspective, it's almost the same. So I want to echo what the Commissioner Quintmont, Commissioner Rayford, and the others have said. This is a no-brainer.
So Rachel, in brief, we have it in our packet and everything, and our packet's really thick. And I've seen some of this, but can you just explain to what you've come up with?
Yeah, so Tony and I have been looking at different options for a space that could accommodate our board meetings. And honestly, it's been a little challenging to find a space that is large enough for our meetings with a big open space, but not also 9,000 square feet in total, because currently we're in 1,300 square feet. This proposed place in location in your packet is roughly 2,700 square feet. So it's a rare gem to find a space that it can accommodate a large meeting room, but not have an additional 5,000-6,000 square feet. The office building is, comprised. It's a 6-story office building that has several engineering firms and other tech firms and stuff like that. It has a very professional atmosphere. It has security. It has ample parking. It's not too far, but I think the idea of what Tony and I looked at, this board has taken a lot of steps to revitalize itself, with first the legislation, and y'all have just been so proactive and amazing at what you're trying to do here for our parishes, and we want to convey that look also with where we're at in our location, and as much as we love moving around, and I'm not opposed to that. It would be so much of a better for Tony and I, if we had a home base to an extent for some of our meetings, because it's a production to get everything ready and to go for our meetings. So we would very much love to have kind of a home base too as well for our meetings, and everybody to come home, we'll call it, right? So that's all I have, and I would thank you for your support.
Commissioner, Harris.
I know that you were looking for someone to take over our lease on our present building. Is that taken care of?
We haven't been able to speak with the person at USGS about that yet.
Okay, we got a motion. We got a motion by Commissioner Quitmon and a second by Commissioner Weber. Rayford. Okay, any opposition? Okay. Any public comments on this? Okay, thank you. Next item is Flood Awareness Month. Proclamation. So, Tony, can you explain a little bit about this? You've been handling this for quite a while.
Almost 21 years. Well, it is 21 years.
21.
So every year we send out to municipalities and parishes requesting that they declare March as Flood Awareness Month. And this helps them out with their CRS ratings. And we also request it from the governor. I'm still waiting on the governors, but with him just getting in there, I'm sure it's just going to take a little bit longer. So this is mainly to help with CRS ratings and to get awareness out.
So is that for the month of March or April?
No, it used to be April.
Okay.
It's now March, so it's in line with federal.
Yeah. April showers are now March showers. Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to accept this as a proclamation? Commissioner O'Neill, you got to...
I want to make the motion, but I want to ask y'all, in advance of next year, Rachel, can you maybe lead the effort to coordinate with the Louisiana Floodplain Management Association? I know they like to do stuff like this all the time, and they've got some ability to amplify that message as well amongst local floodplain administrators to make sure that, they're aware that what we're doing can actually help them from a community rating system perspective, which right now is the only thing on earth that can reduce a flood insurance claim is to improve your CRS classification.
So we did send out in February to all of our local floodplain managers this proclamation as a reminder, and then also to make them aware that we were dedicating March proclaiming March as Flood Awareness Month. So
definitely not saying
we're on top of you, but we're going to include LFMA on that next year.
I was going to say, next year, I would love for LFMA to amplify that message, or just work in concert with us. I would love for it. So anyway, but otherwise, I'd love to make the motion to make that decree March being Flood Awareness Month in Louisiana. It should be every month.
Any public comments on that? I think we can all agree that recognizing flooding is important. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Parker. All in favor? Any opposition? Okay. March is Flood Awareness Month for ARBC. Thank you. Brings us to the end of our agenda, and we've covered a lot. We've talked about a lot of topics. This is a perfect opportunity for anyone in the audience, if they would like to express, have any public comments, any suggestions. If you have any questions, please, now's the time. Yes, please come forward.
It's still morning, so good morning, everybody. It's an honor for me to be here with you today. I'm a former representative from the Denham Springs, Walker area, and I was a legislator who passed the legislation to create the new ARBC, and also to force LWI to let ARBC be its own region. So it was a tall task. It was not the easiest. One of the things that a lot of my legislative colleagues were frustrated with the previous history of ARBC because they were focused on one project, the Comeet River diversion. And a lot of my colleagues wanted to actually disband ARBC in their frustration, but we seized it as an opportunity to make it better. And just based on the efforts of last year and also the comments and seeing the agenda today, we made the right decision. We absolutely made the right decision. So I just wanted to come and just tell you, I just wanted to thank you as a commission and just challenge you really, to seize the moment for what we have in front of us. This regional approach is the way for us to go. And we talked a lot about funding sources and lack of. And in my parish specifically, the majority of our parish is unfunded, and this is our opportunity to get some projects done. So I challenge you to do everything that you can and keep politics out of it. And let's do the right thing and look, just give the public something to believe in. We talk about funding sources, and I know y'all are going to go after the grants that you're going to go after, and all those opportunities. But the long range plan for us initially when we revised this commission was that we give the public the confidence that we can go after some eventually one day go after some public funding to support our efforts. And so I just wanted to just come up here and thank you. And thank you, Parish President Delat. Seeing our parish president attending events and the engagement is something that we've not always had, and I really want to thank you for that. And I'm glad it was here in Livingston Parish today. But I want to thank you, the commissioners, and just a couple of comments for you on some of the agenda items. The Bayou Man Shack project. Look, if, worse things could happen if it gets funded in capital outlay. If it gets funded in capital outlay, I'm sure there could be some cooperation, but we could also take those funds and apply them to other projects as well. I understand wanting to make that project in the preview of ARBC, but there are some advantages if it gets funded through capital outlay. And then just a comment on the capital outlay process, and I think the 365 was a big ask, and that would be very, very remote chance of getting it. But when you go back and you ask for your P1 of the $2.5 million to purchase it, make sure you got your P5 lined up for your year of success after that. And you can go to the Division of Administration. Absolutely, the governor's HB2 can come out and set that change. But also at any time in the legislative process through committee, Ways and Means Committee on the House floor, it can be amended. So there's opportunities for you to write that. So I just wanted to just come here and just thank you and just challenge y'all to give us something to believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mincy. Any more public comments? Questions, suggestions? Okay, hearing none. Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner O'Neill, Commissioner Harris. Thank you all.
Hit the gavel.